Hello. Today we are going to start chapter 15 and section 1. Today's topic is about the tensions between the North and South in America in the middle of 19th century. We are going to base our discussion on two sections. Firstly, the economy, and the second one on the slavery. People in the North, they based their economy on small farms, and they wanted to expand middle class. Norse people had different ideas on slavery. They thought that slavery was an economic threat to wage laborers, and according to them, slavery was wrong. On the other hand, the economy of South was based on larger plantations producing cash crops. Slaves provided the labor on the plantations, and there was a small number of very wealthy, small number of middle class, but very large number of lower class people. Actually, they were workers or slaves working in the farms. Exactly standing on the opposite side of the Northerns, Southern people used to believe that slavery was necessary for their economic survival. Slavery was okay for them because they had a different conception of Bible. According to them, slavery was acceptable because it is their peculiar institution, and Southerners became upset if others criticized the South for it. Consequently, it made poor whites in the South feel superior to their black peers. Later, we come to the topic of slavery and territorial expansion. Wilmot Proviso. In the North, they supported the bill to prevent Southern slaveholders from extending slavery. They also wanted to stop these slaveries working in new territories, which would upset the balance between free and slave states. The proviso passed the House of the Representatives. In the Compromise of 1850, North pleased that California entered the Union as a free state. Many Northerners were not happy with the idea of popular power letting the residents of a territory make the decision about whether to have their state to be slave or free. They also hated the fugitive slave laws. However, in the South, they believed that the Congress had no right to prevent Southerners from bringing slaves into any territory. The proviso was never approved there. It was always stopped in the Senate by Southerners. In the South, in the Compromise of 1850, the Southerners pleaded that Congress would not ban slavery in the rest of territories taken from Mexico. And consequently, the Southerners were pleased by the fugitive slave law. We are going to focus on Fugitive Slave Act and the features of this Fugitive Slave Act and its impacts on people. In this act, slave owners were allowed to travel into any states. Law enforcement officers required to help capture the slaves. Federal marshals held financially liable if they did not help. Accused runaway slaves were not allowed to testify. Commissioners who settled cases were paid twice as much to decide a person was a runaway and sending them to slavery versus deciding the person was not a runaway and setting them free. Steeper penalties were considered for helping runaways as slaves, and these penalties were actually appointed to the slave owners. On the other hand, Kansas-Nebraska's act was a kind of plan to divide the Nebraska territory into two parts, Kansas and Nebraska. This plan proposed using popular sovereignty to determine if either territory should be slave or free. Southerners allowed the residents to choose if they wanted slavery in areas where it had been banned by the Missouri Compromise. Northerners hated the plan because they thought that slavery, for any reasons, is not human. And here in this slide you see some of the stories based on the lives of the slaves back in the South. One of them is by Harriet Beecher Stowe, Uncle Tom's Cabin, and also you can take a look at Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn. Thank you so much. Today's lesson is over. You are just supposed to know the differences between the South and the North in the middle of 19th century, because most probably in the exams the differences will be questioned. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself and your family, and goodbye.